Jesus was very clear on what our mission is, and that is to share the gospel, make disciples, be witnesses to the ends of the earth. So if we're unwilling, if we've already said, yeah, I know what he said, I know he challenged us to do that, but I'm not going to do it, then you're the one that is on the team who says, I'm not going to follow the play. I want to do my own thing. And what happens is it makes the church ineffective in our communities and in our country. And so I'm just challenging, not just you, but I'm challenging me as well. This week, share the gospel. Be intentional. Pray for it. We prayed this morning at the table. Lord, give us an opportunity to share the gospel. And I know that there are some who might reside to the fact that I'm not equipped. I'm not real sure how to do it. And you can probably tell your story, and that's great. And there are some things that you want to avoid when telling your story. And one of those things, you don't want to dwell so much on your past. We all want to show how bad we were, to show how good God is. Well, God doesn't need help in showing how good he is. So spend some time, kind of paint a very general picture of who you were before Christ, how you met him, and how your life is changed right now. Your testimony can't be, well, 20 years ago, I was saved. That's a start, but what's he doing right now in your life? That's what's important. That's what they want to hear. But beyond that, you can extend an invitation of, what God has done for me, he can do for you. But we still have to share the gospel. How does one move from not knowing God to knowing God, from being lost to being saved? Once you get beyond how to share your story effectively and practice that with other people, just so that you're not stumbling over your words, because let me just tell you up front, if you think you know what you're going to say without having thought through it, you don't know what you're going to say. You need to know your story. And if you're writing out your story, not to memorize it, but to make sure you know it, write out your story. And if you find, wow, I really don't have a story, hey, that's a great time to stop and say, God, I thought I knew you, but evidently I don't, because I don't even have a story. I want to surrender my life to you now and let God invite you into his story. And then you can tell it. Beyond that, once we get that established, and if you need help, please send me a message and I'll be glad to help you with that. But the next part, and that's the sharing of the gospel, is telling God's story. That's the whole thing. And we're in such a time right now where conversations are high that we can talk about it pretty easily. Now, there's one illustration, it's called the three circles, that I want to share with you. I'm only going to share one circle with you this morning. I'll share the next one tomorrow. But just to kind of show how the launch pad would occur in most every conversation you will have today or tomorrow or the next day, to show you how God is at work right now. So let me bring up this picture here. This is the first circle, and it originates out of a conversation that you would have with someone else. Most likely today you're going to hear about how hearts are breaking, how they're afraid or they're empty. Something is going on in their lives. The virus, I'm just not sure. And that is a launch point for a conversation. Because here's what you can do. You draw a circle. It doesn't have to be blue in color like this, but you draw a circle. You do it on a napkin. You do it on a piece of paper. You say, can I draw you a picture that will show you what changed my life? And so you draw a picture, and you write in what their brokenness or their fear or their emptiness is. I'm really afraid of this virus. Well, you can write fear really big in there. And if you need additional help, you can rely on your information. What were the things you were dealing with prior to knowing Christ? What was the anxiety that you had? And you can just put that in there too. I was dealing with loneliness or emptiness. I was unfulfilled. You can put that in there also. And then, just as a matter of conversation, you said you're afraid of the virus. Can I ask, what are you doing to manage that in your life? And so I've written some things over here on the side. Relief would be one. So how are you seeking relief from that fear? And maybe it is relationships. Now, this is not in any particular order. You let them answer and then you write it down. So how are you seeking relief from the fear? How are you escaping the fear? And maybe it's substance abuse or something along that line. How are you avoiding that fear or the brokenness? Maybe it's your money. It's a career chaser, and I just keep so busy that I don't have to think about it. Maybe it's accommodating. I just try to go to church more. I'm reading books on Hindu and Buddhism and Taoism and Mormons, and I'm just finding my way. Maybe they're turning to witchcraft, or they're doing incantations. Who knows what's going on in their life? But the fact is in the middle here there is a brokenness, and there's a fear, and then we have a way that we're trying to deal with that. Okay, those are the squiggly lines coming off of the circle. Now, the reason why they're squiggly lines is because it kind of represents an elastic band. Because you can try to alleviate your brokenness and your fear and your anxiety through relationships, but it's all going to lead back to the same place because you're not going to get relief. You can try to escape it with alcohol or drugs, but it's going to come right back. It's going to lead you right back to the same place again. You can try to avoid it with a career, but it does not go away. Do you see how that works? And then in the bottom, I just wrote here, and this is for your benefit and mine, that when we get through that element of the conversation, what their brokenness, fear, or anxiety is, how they're dealing with it, then we can talk about that brokenness. Brokenness, fear, and emptiness or anxiety, they're all results of sin. And Romans 3:23 tells us that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So it's not a surprise that we find ourselves in this circle. Now, that's all I'm going to share with you right now. I think as a challenge for you personally, if you will draw a circle and just put in either what you're dealing with right now or what your life looked like prior to knowing Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Were you fearful, or were you broken? What was going on in your life? And then how did you try to deal with it without Jesus? And that would be a really good starting place. Tomorrow is the second circle, which is God's design. So we've created this first one that basically says, okay, here's the situation. This is the world we live in. It is broken, and there is fear all around us. We don't understand what's going on, and we try to manage it by ourselves, and it does not work. So tomorrow's circle is God's design. God didn't intend for it to be this way. And so we're going to show tomorrow what that circle is. Okay? So, wow, there's a little Sunday school lesson for you right now. But listen, pray with me that we will have an opportunity to share the gospel with someone this week. And do it. Let's be on the same team. Let's be unified. Let's strive together, arm in arm.